Oh, I messed it up. I thought I was like, hold on, I gotta do it again. If you've got a passion for fashion, kikank. There you go. And you've got a craving for savings, yes, take the wheel of your automobile and swing on down to Pencil. Hello, welcome back to Pencil to Pencil. Do you guys? That was one of those kind of like local. You were up way too late, and Saturday Night Live went off commercials on the NBC affiliate. Guys, welcome back to Pencil to Pencil. When you see, you know what's going to happen, Steve. When you see three expert cartoonists with smiling angelic countenances, matinee idol good looks, and lantern jaws, you know a couple of things should be true. One, it must be Wednesday, 8 p.m. EST, somewhere on this marble. Two, you're about to be ensorcelled. Shout out to big words. And also, you're about to get pinched because you must be dreaming, guys. Welcome back to the live cast. Let's do some introductions. My name is JAMAR NICHOLAS. I am your first co-host. I wear many hats, especially this one. The bucket's back. It's almost springtime. I can smell it. It's March. That means it's also Pisces season. Get ready. I am on the board of the National Cartoon Society and also the Philadelphia chapter chair. I have a new book coming out, you guys. Leon and the Big Problem will be on store shelves in November 2026. Steve, what should they do? What should good people do, please?
Cop it. Why don't you?
Why don't you? Guys, that was long. I needed like a button. Then it wouldn't be fun. Watch me screw up in real time.
No, you should have a shirt that says "Cop it, why don't you?"
Oh, yo, I gotta put that on my list. I have a running list of things I should be doing. So you're all aware of that. Guys, I'd be remiss if I did not introduce my cohort, co-host, and co-conspirator. You may know him. You may have seen him on the margins walking. Remember the little paperclip on Windows that used to kind of bounce around on the side of the screen? You may have seen this man walking along the side of the internet superhighway looking for adventure. But don't let him fix your tire in the rain. You may not like what happens. Guys, welcome one of my best buds. You may know him in these streets as Spot God and Stone Cold Steve Conley. What's up, Steve Conley?
Gentlemen, it is so good to see you. I'm 0 for 3 on the references this evening. I need a Windows machine, and I need to get like a VHS tape from the.
What was that thing called? What was it? Clippy or something?
Clippy? Like Clippy. It was Clippy. I think it was Clippy. Or was
Mr.
it Mr.
Clippy?
Hold on. Mr. Clip, I think, was the movie theater man. Oh. That was, you call him Mr. Clippy. Mr. Clippy's my father. You can just call me Clippy. I think Mr. Clip was the movie reel mascot from like AMC Theater.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, my name is Steve Conley. I write and draw your third favorite webcomic and one of the few properties not owned by the Ellison family, The Middle Age, which you can and Webtoons, Tapas, Go Comics on my own website, steveconley.com, middleagecomic.com. And I make TTRPG stuff. So if you play the Dungeons and the Dragons, you can check out my 2 upcoming books, Stabracadabra and Wildest Shape. I'm so excited about those things. But tonight we'll be drawing. But I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce the Tower Power, the Man of the Hour, too sweet to be sour, the Maestro of Mark Making, the magnificent, the often malevolent, the mysterious, mercurial, Mr. Mike Manley.
Hello, everyone. I'm the mysterious mercurial.
Managerial Mike Manley.
That sounds like a Stan Lee villain, Mr. Mysterious Mercurial. Me and the Impossible Man will be teaming up later.
I love it. I love it. Guys, the chat is a titter tonight. It's a buzz. And as we all know, for you guys who are dyed-in-the-wool pencil pushers, as D. Parson likes to call our chat, you would know that, right, Steve Conley, our chat is lousy with cartoonists.
Thick with cartoonists.
With 2 C's.
Brimming.
Our good buddy Tristan. What a Tristan. Tristan said he ordered his Leon books, but thank you very much. And also picked up his copy of Middle Age. Well, thank you very much. Things are happening. I love it. Also, our good buddy, America, this is you. Tom Zoller says he wears no hats. None can contain my ego. Hey, I'm not going to debate that. What's up to you, Michael? Guys, we have a great show for you tonight. I got a lot going on here. Let me try to clear the screen for a second. We had a really great series. We might call it, because we like alliteration here, Mike Manley Month. We should be doing Mike Manley Month in March. That would be magnificent, right? But we did Mike Manley Month in February, so that kind of doesn't really flow. But Mike had, was it 2 or 3 parts of his lecture? And then he did a live drawing last week. And I even said in our secret group chat, Mike, man, I don't want to burn you out. Like, maybe we should all do something, right? Because, and I've loved these episodes, and the chat has been really alive with the sessions, and the numbers were really good last week on the live inking a comic page. Mike, what did you think about that exercise last week?
I wish it was longer, or I could go faster.
Hey, story of my life.
Right? It was fun. It was fun inking Gene Colan. And like I said, while I was doing it, I think that's a really great exercise for people to do anyway, is to practice inking other people's artwork, because you get to not only practice your chops, but when you ink somebody else's work, you get to learn from them. You get to really kind of get into their world and their thinking,
Yeah, no, it was great. And, sometimes I like to re-energize the fact that we are 3 working cartoonists, right? So if, to exchange between us running our mouths so much, sometimes we put a pencil to paper or to digitizer and actually draw stuff. Pencil to digitizer, turbines the speed. And even when I'm doing school visits, and one of the things that I request, it's in my rider, Steve Conley, is like, I need an easel and a pad and some markers. Because you have to draw for the kids. It's almost like, it's not like a requisite, but you're missing half of the magic trick if you don't draw for them.
Well, would you want to see a cartoonist that didn't draw?
Yeah, you just exposed my whole internet presence right there. I gotta think about that now.
Kids, we're having a magician to come in today, and he's like, "Yeah, watch me wash dishes."
Yo, that's my whole Patreon, man. What are you doing to me? You get for $5 a month, you can watch me wash dishes in my house.
The younger they are, the less skeptical they are. So when you start drawing for teenagers, you're like,
Yeah, they're like, yo, what size shoes you wearing? You gotta watch out for those teenagers.
You don't have the solid gold Trump shoes on. They're like, he's poor. He ain't making any money.
Oh my God. Well, what I was getting at is that sometimes we have to draw for you fine people. So tonight we're going to, hold on, I gotta manage a couple of things on the screen here. I'm gonna close the chat for a second so we can go back to this. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to not live ink a classic page. We're going to draw and jaw. And Steve Conley was giving me the business in the green room, and he was like, draw and jawn, right? Like, no, I say jawn all the time. We're not going to Phillyize this. It's jaw like talking, not jawn like the noun, the super noun. So I saw that Steve Conley was doing some warm-ups with his constituents earlier today. Steve, tell us about how you preheated this episode.
Well, the piece I'm working on is the next episode of The Middle Age, and I was going to be inking it earlier today, And I'm like, well, we have the show tonight. I'm just going to hold off on that. So there's still a little bit of drawing to do. Still solving some problems, redrawing and redrawing and redrawing. But I should be able to wrap up that part while we're on tonight, and also get some of it inked so folks can see how I work. I do everything in Procreate on my iPad. So anyone wondering how I'm working, that's how I do it.
Do you already have like your brushes preset? And,
I only use one brush. For the line work, I have a customized brush I put together 9 years ago, and I haven't changed it since. I mean, I tweak it every once in a while they'll upgrade the software and it changes sensitivity, things like that. So I have to kind of tweak it a little bit, but it's pretty much been rock solid the whole time.
And you prefer that than working on the Cintiq with Clip?
I've never used Clip unless I've had to work on somebody else's work. Like I had to finish a deadline for somebody or help somebody out or pitching on a project, but everything's been done in Procreate. It's not optimal. Clip Studio is definitely better for panel borders and all the kind of automation and zipatone and all those effects it has. But in terms of line weight, my comfort with working, the size of the screen and the responsiveness, everything about it is very natural for me right now. It feels more like using a pen or a brush pen to me than the more fixed location of a Cintiq, because my Cintiq is great, but it's not, you can't turn it as easily. You can't work on it in a coffee shop, things like that.
Well, now you could put Clip on your iPad.
Yeah, that might be it. But what I've decided was that with the middle age starting about 10, it'll be the 10th anniversary this year. I started with Procreate. I mean, I think I installed the software like 3 or 4 months before I started the comic, and I'm just going to, run that all the way through. There might be some short stories after this big 10-year arc ends that I'll do traditionally or do with other software, but I'm sticking with, the one I came with the one what brought me.
I love it. Mike, what, pray tell, do you think you're going to be working on tonight?
I don't know. I figured I'd just sort of wing it. Whatever comes out, that's usually how I do things if I'm just sketching for myself. I'll just sit there and stare at the blank page and scribble around and erase, and then I'm like, there's a I forget the name of it. There's some, it's like synesthesia. It's one of those things where you look at a bunch of stuff, you'll see a face in it.
Oh, okay.
So if like you sometimes I like to start by doing like an automatic drawing. So I'll just scribble around and then like, oh yeah, I see a thing there. I heard that Mobius used to do that.
Just kind of like draw into it until something appears.
Yeah, he used to do that. He called it automatic drawing. So he would sit there and he would just, and then like you let your imagination. Because people always ask you where your ideas come from, right? How do you get your ideas or whatever? Well, that's a great way of, I think, of unlocking your subconscious, right? You just sort of make up, and it might be complete crap, and then you just erase it and you do something else, right? And I think it's the process of doing that's important, right? It's the process of it's like warming up and not having so much pressure immediately on the performance, because a lot of people get stuck when they draw, right? Like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to, now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to draw. And then if it's not immediately the thing that they want, or they don't enjoy the process. And so I think if you it's almost like a Zen thing or a Buddhist thing, or just get into the process, enjoy the process. And then whatever's in you is going to come out anyway. That's my thing, right? No matter what, you cannot be what you are not. I think with drawing, right? You can trick yourself and put a lot of pressure on yourself so that you can't allow yourself to be yourself. And I think when people are young, there's some people who naturally have that ability. I would see that in students, because there's some students that can just sit down and, and then there's other students who, it's sort of a painful thing,
Right.
and there's a lot of pressure. And I think, you can just draw and it can be crap, and that's fine. And maybe that's just part of getting to the part that's good, and everybody's different. So
Speaking of crap, and also speaking of things coming out of you, our resident cartoonist Scott Kurtz says he gets his ideas on the toilet. He lets his eyes cross and finds faces in the pattern of the stucco. See how I tied it all together, Scott Kurtz?
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Well, we're just like burning daylight. So I'm going to. So for you guys who have been watching this stuff for a long time, know that I have a lot of superpowers. Right, I'm multifaceted. I contain multitudes, Steve Conley. But also, I'm at the end of my limits. Like, well, I'm about to go like supernova. I can't draw and host and produce and switch chirons around and concentrate at the same time. That's like the very. So I get a little twitchy with these episodes. So I'm going to do my best. So I'm going to switch over to Steve Conley. Steve Conley, what are you working on?
This is the next episode of it. Currently, it's flipped. I flip the drawing regularly as I'm working to try to catch my mistakes, my many mistakes. But I saw Scott's note about Clip on iPad requires a subscription. That's one of the reasons why I haven't gotten on my iPad. I'm such a cheapskate that Procreate's got a one-time fee. And so that's one of the reasons, among the reasons I love Procreate. But this is the latest episode of The Middle Age. I draw it stacked like this as it appears in the printed form, although these panels will be reorganized vertically when you see it in Webtoon, and they'll be horizontal when you see them over on Go Comics. But what I work on usually is I have a blue layer that sits on top of everything and colors it so it's more like I'm working in blue. Like a non-repro blue, it's just an old school, comfortable way for me to work. And then I ink on a layer above all this. And usually I have layers of all my previous drawing is kind of under here as I'm figuring all this stuff out, like from a rough sketch to a tighter drawing to a tighter drawing. And then this is good enough for me to ink. And then I'll ink that. So that's what they'll see me doing.
Yeah, it's very thorough, Steve Conley. I didn't expect such excellence, but I'm not surprised. Steve, what about your panel borders? Is that kind of like something that you've kind of like pre-done and you load them up, or how does that work?
I have a bunch of them now. Initially, they were all hand drawn, but after a while, I have like, I don't know, 15 or 20 of them in various configurations, and I'll adjust them. I won't use them exactly the same way each time, but from the beginning, I wanted my panel borders to feel more like scrolls, more oldie-timey. Like since this is a fantasy comic, I wanted it to feel more hand-drawn and more. And since everything is hand-drawn, I always kind of feel a little bit of a disconnect when you have mechanical, perfect geometric panel borders and perfect geometric word balloons next to hand-drawn line art. I kind of want them all to feel of a kind, because we do that with our lettering. We get lettering that looks like it's hand-drawn if we're going to buy something from Comic Craft or Plambot. That we want the lettering to look hand-drawn, even if it's a font.
Steve, Uncle Mike, not Uncle Mike Manley, but Tio Michael. What up, Mike? Says, so do you do the backgrounds later or on a different layer, Steve?
Usually. In this case, I know that I'm going to have a ridiculous, where are we? I've lost track with all my layers here. Like I'm going to have a word balloon coming up from our hero. And then there's going to be a word coming from these eye stalks, and then he'll be exclaiming something in this open panel. So there's not as many backgrounds here. It's an underground setting, so I will be doing the backgrounds later, but they're going to be fairly abstract. Well, no, I'll have this silhouette panel that kind of show people where their relationship, or in the middle of a sequence. I don't feel I need to reestablish the environment. But like this background, this staircase that our hero's heading up in panel 4, I will be drawing that as part of the process, where I'll have perspective on the kind of center column of this winding staircase.
Okay. So, and just for people to know, you're not finishing the strip tonight. You just kind of bang on it a little bit, right?
Well, unless I can.
Speaking of that, Scott Kurtz hasn't seen the magic trick yet. Steve, Scott wants to see the chainmail.
I'm happy to show people that. It's one of the things where someone said, you ever want to? Why would you show someone that? It's your secret trick. I'm like, because once they see how it's made, they never want to do it.
That'll be it.
The trick, if anyone wants to see it, how I draw the chainmail. The character's currently not wearing the chainmail because he's wearing a black and white outfit. His outfit's all grays because, as established in the story, the dragons, he's entering the dragon city of Draconia.
Wait, tell him to join the Patreon. Then you get to see the story.
Patreon.com/Steve Conley. But you can read it for free at steveconley.com. And
I was messing with you. Go ahead.
He's in an all gray outfit to sneak into Draconia because dragons can't see in black and white. It's just a silly thing that the story has. So this chainmail, once you have your form, let's say this is going to be the hand of the figure, I draw kind of loose contours of the armor and kind of create kind of a mesh over the thing. And I turn it very low, and then I'll pick a highlight. Let's say the highlight's going to be here. And it is laborious, so you're going to get real bored real quick. One tick, 2 ticks. I'm doing it very sloppy right here, but just saving everyone's 3 ticks. And I started doing this from the very first episode of The Middle Age because I've been looking at all the different ways cartoonists had done chainmail. I love the way Wally Wood does it. Of course, Hal Foster, Ramona Fredon with Aquaman, and there's so many different ways. Kirby and Simon with Cap.
The fish scale.
Yeah, I love that. And I very well could have done that with this character, but there was just something about this approach which let me give the character volume, and in a way that was just, I don't know, I really liked how it turned out, and it cost me weeks of my life in this comic. So currently he's not wearing this outfit. I mean, the character, I was tempted to have the character just go nude because I was so tired of drawing this. Because the comic would be done and I'd still have 2 hours of this effect. And then once you do that side, then you go do the other way. And you wrap the shape around and you can see the effect that it's building up this volume. And the end is you stop right here to give it kind of that kind of rim lighting.
Right. And
so it would keep getting darker and darker and darker. And yeah, it's insane. So it's easy to do. It's just going to take you a while.
A moment to learn, a lifetime to master. I love it. I'm sure. Go ahead.
I like how they talk about an anime, like it's right before the fight, a bomb goes off and it levels the entire environment, so the animators don't have to draw backgrounds. There's like, you definitely wanted something to happen so our character be running around without that chainmail on.
And just so no one forgets, join my Patreon so you can watch me wash dishes. I'm excited about that. No, that's really cool, Steve. And I think people would just assume that's some sort of like, I don't know, gimmick or like some sort of app or a hack or a brush or something you created.
It's a perfectly natural thing to assume because you'd have to be an idiot to do it any other way.
You're a madman. All right, I want to switch this over. Let's go over to Mike Manley's neighborhood. Mike, What are you working on? Oh, hold on, hold on. I gotta get rid of you first, Steve, and then I can.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, I got it. Go ahead. What do you got there, Mike?
We'll see. I might be Batman and the Joker. We'll see. I'm just sort of scribbling. This is almost going to be like one of those con sketches, you know?
Yeah. Mike, while you're kind of thinking, tell us about your loadout here. Are you working in Clip or what's your thing?
No, I'm just working in I'm working in Clip Studio. Yeah.
People always ask questions about, like, what we talked a little bit about this the other day. What pens do you use? Because in Clip Studio, it's also supposed to be like mimicking manga, so it's not necessarily brush; it's more like pins. So like, what pen do you use?
I always use the real G pen.
The real G pen's got a little tooth to it, right? A little crust to it.
That's what they say, but again, like I was saying last week, to me, they always say that the pens, I have this, like, one of them. Where is it on here? I had one of them on here. It was like a crunchy dry brush. Oh, here I'm going to pen. So I'm roughing it in a pencil, but then I have like this one here. And see, I have to make it really big. See, it has this kind of blobbery, right?
Yeah.
So I can use that, but I don't usually use that. I usually use the there's a real G pen, and then there's a G pen, real G pen 2, and then they must have changed it. Yeah, so there's there's the G pen, which to me, that's the G pen. Right. And then there's real G pen. Can you see a difference? Not to me. You can't really see a difference.
Right, but there's something there, because I use real G too.
I mean, when you reduce the thing down,
yeah, you can.
You print it, you're not going to see any difference. You really are not going to see any difference on that stuff. They say that there's a difference, and you may notice it on an image when you're really, really, really big. But to me, the only one, there was another one. There was a mapping pen.
Yeah, that's like real thin.
Yeah, there's a turnip pen, which is like a fat. It's a little fatter. But again, to me, it's all about like your line control. If I ink something with a Hunt 102 or a Hunt 108, the 108 is more flexible than a 102. But I can make lines like I would make with a 102 with the 108. It's easier to take a flexible pen and do something. You could do a stiffer line. The only difference is the 102, the actual quill is smaller and shorter, so it won't flex as much. So, some of that doesn't really matter in the end,
Cool. So all right, we're going to.
What about you? What about you, Jamar?
Well, I'm getting to that, sir. We're gonna leave Mike Manley's neighborhood for a second, and then we're going to go to my screen. So for some JAMAR Nicholas lifers, you may remember that I had a pretty cool webcomic called Detective Boogaloo Hip Hop Cop, about a breakdancing detective, and I revisit this stuff a lot. The last time it was in print, it was in the U.S. Metro daily newspapers which was really cool. It was running daily in Philadelphia, Boston, and New York City. It was a really nice thing to see for my readership.
What year was that?
That was 2015, Mike.
Wow, you were just out of high school.
It was maybe 20. Yeah, I think it was like 2015. It was like about a year, and then I kind of like, J. Jonah Jameson moved in and cleared the decks. But I put it down and kind of haven't picked it back up. But I like to visit sometimes, and I feel like the pop culture in the world is so different now. For me to bring it back, it would have to have a whole different vibe. But
well, hip hop is not even
right.
like
That's
you were drawing like hip hop for that era, and then hip hop is not even like that anymore, right? Like the same.
Yeah. Like so much has changed, right? So, this was kind of like an old sketchbook design that I did that was kind of funky, and you can kind of see. Can you see this okay on the screen? I kind of moved away. It's kind of like I blue lined it out, and my style for this stuff is like really thick outlines. My Leon stuff doesn't look like this, and the thick outlines where I was trying to give off a really kind of graffiti mural vibe with the character. Like he had really heavy outlines and no one else did. So he's almost like a graffiti character coming to life. So I kind of come back to this stuff once in a while and just try to punch it up. And I figured this could be a cool sticker or a shirt or something. So that's what I'm going to work on tonight. I'm going to see if I can ink this real quick.
So cool.
Thank you.
So how long did that last?
What, the newspaper strip?
Yeah.
Not that long, right? I think the newspaper strip. Oh, I might need to like draw on this a little bit. I think the newspaper strip was a year, something like that. It really wasn't that long. I was kind of expecting it to go a little longer, but all hats off to Mike because that is a grind. Doing daily strips is a grind, and the whole time I was doing that, the art director was just up my ass. It was just like, we need more strips. We need more strips. I just sent you more strips. Well, we need more strips. It's like, what was that? Was that Return of the Living Dead or whatever, where the zombies on the ambulance system? He goes, send more cops. That's how I felt like weekly. I'm just like, man, what a life. So yeah, I don't, that was one of my early dreams. I wanted to do daily strips, but I don't think I'm good on that.
You had your daily strip experience, is what you're saying?
I mean, it was dope, and I've done other things like that in the past, but maybe it's just getting used to doing the buffer and knowing that stuff is perpetually due forever, and that's like a pressure I don't think anybody can prepare you for. Even when you just turn stuff in, right? It's due again.
Yeah, I turned in stuff today. I'm already late.
Right? So, you got to be a special kind of maniac.
How does that feel compared to the children's book? Excuse me, the real world of publishing, like the young adult books?
Well, I mean,
there's just so many pages.
I mean, it's probably the same type of yeah, I don't know. I feel like the deadlines aren't as hard on you because they're just spread out. I mean, it's still the same amount of time.
Right, because you'll be able to take a rest in 8 months.
Right. But this is just like, whatever. It sounds like I'm griping. I'm not. But I just never really had a chance to enjoy it because I was just always late. And I wasn't late. I was always behind, even when you're not behind, if that makes sense. All the strip cartoonists in the chat know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's very hard to work that way I always say it has to be your part of your personality to do a strip for that long. It's not easy. A lot of people can't do it,
Right. And we're just at that like a level of polish that you have to maintain to do that stuff. All hats off to the strip guys. Steve, would you mind logging off of me and let's see what you're doing, or Mike?
Absolutely.
Then I'll come back around.
What do we got here? I am. JRD says.
Yep. Notorious.
On the YouTube, I do love this particular style of yours, JN. It's evolved nicely over time into your Leon work, but it's always nice to see the classics.
Oh, thank you, Notorious JRD. Checks in the mail.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Asa
that.
Taylor on YouTube, ditto JRD, ditto.
Master Asa, thank you guys. I appreciate you. Make me feel like I'm wanted.
We've got a question from Darren Honey 7776 on YouTube. Please elaborate on the relationship between memorization and drawing from imagination for comics in your own work. Mike, you want to start that off? The relationship between memorization and drawing from imagination.
Well, all drawing from imagination, all drawing of something that is something that is not live. You're not doing a mimic response to what you see in front of you. All of that is drawn from stored information. I mean, even if you're going, I want to draw a clown right now, or I wanted to draw an elephant, you have to draw upon your stored information, right? So they're the same thing. You go, oh, I want to draw something. Well, what does that thing look? How many fingers are on a hand? How many fingers are on Superman's hand or Mickey Mouse's hand? Right. So it's really the same thing. Some people might have a slightly better facility for recall, but it's like the old famous artist school had their famous saying was see, observe, remember. Everybody sees things, but are you really observing? Are you really paying attention to what you're looking at? And then you remember it. And the way we as artists remember it the best is by drawing it, right? So, everybody has those problems of like, draw feet. A lot of people have trouble drawing feet. We've seen feet all of our lives, but we generally don't. We know what a foot looks like. Like, oh yeah, that looks like that's a nice foot, or that's a bad foot. But pulling out that stored information is something that you can only do through practice. And so I think, but also when you draw something from observation, like you're looking at a figure. Some people are really good at sort of replicating what they see, but there's also a way of knowing what you're looking at and then interpreting that, right? Because all drawings are interpretations. So, drawing can be a very complex process, because if you see a person sitting or laying down or foreshortened, right? Especially foreshortening, especially in figure drawing, that's one of the things that people struggle with a lot in the beginning. They struggle with being able to draw and get the whole figure on a sheet of paper, or being able to get the shapes of things. They see the leg and they see that it's foreshortened and it kind of creates these weird shapes, but their idea of what a leg looks like overrides what they're looking at. So they're not really paying attention to the shapes. They're paying attention to, like, a leg is this long. And so you have to sort of work to interpret the shape that you're seeing, not draw the shape that you have in your head. Like, I know a leg is like this, right? And that only can happen through practice. So it was something that I was more aware of becoming a teacher, because you have people that are struggling, and everybody's sort of at a different stage. And you go like, well, you know, some people always get the figure on the page, and other people can never get the whole. You have a giant pad of paper, and they still can't get the whole figure on the page. Right? And you go like, why is that? So I came up with like little things for people to do to become aware of, not only of what you're looking at, but where that takes place on the sheet of paper. And the other thing is that how you started drawing might have a bad habit. And most people start drawing with a head. So what I got people to do was to not start drawing with the head, to sort of mark a little border of where the top of the head was and the bottom of the foot, and make little marks, and then draw a mark in the middle, somewhere in the middle. So you know the head's here, not going to be higher than here, and you know the foot's not going to, you know, the leg's not going to be lower than here. And then you start in the middle, and you try to get the big volumes, because usually if you start with a small volume like the head, and this is for people who are usually starting out, that's a very inaccurate. It's like starting to draw with a finger. You know, you're drawing with this little shape, and if that little shape is not in the right spot, by the time you get to the bigger shapes, you're like, oh, wait a minute, everything's kind of like out of order. So I kind of figured that out because I kept thinking like, well, why were so many people having trouble? And by doing that, it was immediately able to get people to at least start being aware of, like, here's your canvas. Here's the orientation of the object on the canvas. And if you think about it, you take a little time, a couple seconds, and you go, oh, okay, you know, the border, the contour, the borders are here. People didn't cut off the leg or cut off the head.
He can't see without his glasses.
Exactly.
Where are his glasses? He can't see without his glasses.
Jeff on YouTube says Jamar is fast. I agree entirely.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Paul Pate says, yo.
Yo, what up, Paul Pate?
Jamar, I got a question. There's a style that you have working on this piece, and a style you have when working in Leon. The Leon verse has a aesthetic. Like I think that a radio looks like there's a specific kind of radio in a Leon verse, right? It looks a certain way. A school lunch looks a certain way. Was that in your head from the beginning? Is that something you're conscious of when you sit down? Like, do you have to draw something? Do you think, okay, I'm drawing the one from the Leon verse, or the one that's out here with the rest of us?
No, I never thought about it like that. I think I'm just trying to make things feel a little more realistic, if I can even say that. That's something that I can attempt to do. with the Leon stuff, even though it's totally not. You know what I mean? But I probably labor over it more. But at the same time, you ready for this? I feel like this is a cheat. But at the same time, I totally don't care. I don't care. So there's a weird part of my cartooning where, like that looks enough like a lunch tray.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I've gotten to these long conversations with our buddy Mike Hawthorne over that. Like, shout out to Mike. Like, if Hawthorne's going to draw a building in an alley, like a wall, he's going to put every brick on that wall.
Right.
As I say, he goes brick, 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 and I go brick, brick, brick. You know what I mean? So, like, in my head, it's not. I don't necessarily want to say I'm being lazy about it, but I just don't think it's necessary for the way I'm telling these stories. Like, you get it. Like every table doesn't have to be like centered and squared off, and the perspective's a little funky. You get it. He's in a school. But some things that do make more sense to me, I hope I'm answering your question, is that like when he's walking through the hallways of the school, there's other kids in the hallway. You know what I mean? I wanted to make it feel populated, so that's important. But I'm also just making those kids up on the page.
I think it's always remarkable because the world feels of a kind. Like it all had I don't know, foundational elements that everything was built on because it feels of a kind, feels of a piece. Like I don't remember the first few DreamWorks movies where there'd be like the real characters and then kind of everybody, the NPCs, and they all kind of had this generic quality that didn't quite fit with the world.
Yeah.
But your characters, your whole world has this look. I bet they said like you can identify a cartoon character from its silhouette. I imagine if you drew a radio, and a bunch of cartoonists drew a radio, I could pick yours out and go, that's part of Leon's world.
See, now I got to draw a radio. Yeah, so and my stuff is. I think there's a lot of kind of graffiti in my stuff. Because when I was a youth, I kind of I dabbled. Youths, I dabbled a little bit, but it's just kind of like it doesn't have to be exactly how a radio looks, but you get it, right?
Well, do you have a radio that has an antenna? Like at a certain point, all radios had antennas, and then at a certain point, no radio had an antenna.
Right.
I know you do that, Mike, with your ability to kind of move in and out of these worlds where, you're drawing in the animated style, and that definitely has a style, but also kind of almost all of it comes back to like the Fleischer, Bruce Timm kind of lineage.
Right.
But you're able to just sort of put yourself in that headspace, but which is you draw a completely different thing in that world than you would in the Phantom.
Right. Well, I think the thing is that when you're drawing, there's basic drawing, like basic dimensional drawing, right? Like what I call like the crash test dummy drawing, where you draw the little block person, right? And then if you draw that, then everything else after that is sort of a deviation or a take on a sort of an aesthetic, right? And I think if you do it, it's not that hard to go from the Fleischers to Bruce Timm, from Bruce Timm to Jack Kirby, from Jack Kirby to John Buscema. And there's a lot of artists that are sort of in between. Some people exaggerate the figure more, gestures more. But yeah, so to me, it's like once you have the core down, then that allows you to stretch. Like there's similarities, or design principles like straights against the curves that you learn in animation, or rhythm lines, counter rhythm lines, things like that. Now, once you know those principles, you see them all the time. You see them constantly. So you see that in a drawing by the Disney artist for like 101 Dalmatians and Sleeping Beauty, where it's really kind of pushed and very angular. But then you also see that Don Bluth, you see that in Bruce Timm, you see that in Gendy's work. You can see those same principles at work. Some people push it a little bit more, some people push it a little bit less. So it's like once you learn those principles and you learn to solidly be able to construct a character, then that allows you to be able to make choices like, incorporate aspects of the drawing that are sort of like that UPA modern flat look. Like there's a lot of similarities between Samurai Jack and the UPA stuff, right? And the Disney stuff, like in 101 Dalmatians, is flatter than Lady in the Tramp. And so once you start to understand those things, then you can start playing with that. You can see that there's a lot of artists like a Beckhoff or Russell Patterson, people who really pushed flat against straight, right? So to me, once you learn those principles and you learn how to construct a figure in a volumetric, it's easier to take it and kind of flatten it out because there's certain little rules that you can follow that will help you do that. That's how I taught myself anyway.
We got Ben Shaw. Ben, hello. Ben's a Kubert student. I met Ben in Virginia, gosh, maybe a decade ago. Says that radio looks nice. And Mr. Paul Pate, you've got that radio down so fast. Yeah, it looks great.
Thanks, guys.
Got a comment here, which touches on something Mike was saying a bit. Crossbones Flag 40 from YouTube. It was such a sad day when I realized I just don't have the skill or personality to do a long form comic book. I'm still trying to find some type of outlet for my drawing habit, but it's hard. Respect. What would you? We talk about the personality. Mike often talks about the personality of a cartoonist and his students. Is clearly long form comics isn't for everybody. But what would you, for someone like that, would you recommend shorter works?
And they, so is the question kind of like, this isn't something that I want to make a career out of, but I really enjoy tuning and I want to keep at it, or, I don't want to misread the question.
It was more of a observation and just kind of a bit of self-evaluation. I'm still trying to find some type of outlet for my drawing habit. That feels like what outlet would you suggest, or might you suggest?
You know what? I always like to tell people to do more journal comics.
Oh, and there's a follow-up here also from Crossbones. Any advice you would give for transitioning away from the really common semi-realistic style that's common for intermediate artists to something more stylized? Any advice would be appreciated.
Steve, what do you think? I'm gonna flip it at you because style is such an odd conversation to have.
It took me a while to find my style. I think it takes a bit of a lot of self-reflection, and to me, it's a thing where when you draw for nobody, if you're on the phone and you just have a pad of paper in front of you and a pen, whatever you draw in that time, that's kind of a closest to what you should be drawing. That kind of turn everything off. It's not for anybody else. You're not trying to impress anybody. You're not trying to make a buck. that whatever it's just you and the pen and the paper,
Yeah.
what comes out of you. And I feel like that when I started drawing like that and I started drawing with the kind of things I draw now, I was like, oh, I'm not trying to draw like Steve Rude as much as I'd love to. I'm not trying to draw like Wally Wood or Mike Manley or JAMAR Nicholas as much as I'd love to. My own, finding my own voice. So, and that's a thing too, because if you're doing it if you're having fun while you're doing it, even if it ends up not being commercially viable and not paying your rent or your light bill or whatever, or buying you pizza, that it's still worth your time because you had fun. That's where I would go. How you guys feel about that?
Well, if you're talking about style, I think that basically style is the expression of your knowledge, right? When you're young, we always want to draw like our heroes. I want to draw like, June Lee or Tom McFarlane or Frank
JAMAR Nicholas.
or JAMAR Nicholas, right? Very obsessed with style, but a style is a choice. Any style is a choice. Several choices, but basically it's the expression of the information that you have inside of your head. So if you want to draw a hand, if you really know how to draw a hand, how to construct a hand, it ties into what I was saying before, right? If you're drawing, you really understand the anatomy of a hand, then you can look at a hand drawn by Jack Kirby, which is very highly stylized, or a hand drawn by Michelangelo. And you'll be able to understand what each artist is doing and how they're expressing their knowledge. And so I think you can answer all those questions for yourself by committing to the process of drawing and studying, because there's no other way around it, right? So I think that 99% of people are not comic strip or comic book artists. That requires not only drawing skill, but it requires storytelling skill. And a lot of people, in fact, most people are single image artists. They're like, they would do a really nice drawing. And you can tell a story with that drawing, but breaking down actions and camera angles and all that stuff, that's something that a lot of people are not, they're not really into that. And they're into drawing nice pictures. They're into doing, beautiful illustration, or maybe doing something great with color. So I think the only way to really find that out, what works for you, is you just have to be willing to commit yourself to the craft, to drawing, exploring, like a lot of people are not. When I would teach that illustration class, there was a lot of kids that were really good at drawing what they saw. But then you come into an illustration class and, there's no figure there. There's no still life. There's whatever's in your head that you want to bring out. Right now, you could have you could do an illustration that might be very realistic. And you may want to get a model and shoot photographs and do studies and, just like the classic Golden Age guys. Or you want to make something completely up out of your head. The choice is yours, right? The only way you can really discover it is to do enough drawing to figure out which way you kind of want to go yourself. There's no way around it. So I would always ask people, well, what are you passionate about? What do you like? And if you can't say what you like or what you're passionate about, it makes it a little harder, because it's sort of like you haven't committed.
Right.
If it would be the same way if you said, well, I want to play music. Okay, well, the world of music's pretty broad. What do you mean you want to play music? What does that mean? Right. what does that mean? You want to play country western? You want to, you know?
We're gonna jump over and look at Mike here.
And then Steve, I'll give you back your.
Oh no, you're great. I'm enjoying the heck out of this. You had some other observations here, Mr. Paul Pate. JAMAR, wouldn't you love to do a full Detective Boogaloo graphic novel? And how would that compare to doing a Leon graphic novel?
That's interesting.
If folks haven't picked up Leon, the Extraordinary, they must. It's from Scholastic. You've heard of them. It is a beautiful book, and JAMAR is. It's funny and really, really good. 2 books out, 3rd one on the way. But I'm sorry, JAMAR.
Oh, thank you. How would I do it, or what would that look like?
How would it compare to doing a Leon graphic novel? Do you think you'd? I mean, it's not a Scholastic project, is it?
Right, no. It would I would probably, if I didn't get some sort of kind of like publishing deal with it, I feel like that would be a perfect Kickstarter. And something I've been thinking about for a while, like I would probably have like new material, like a new story, maybe like maybe a 50-page story or something, and then like a collection of the old material. And I've got enough old material that I could do a couple of old material things. Like it was the original Kevin Smith stuff, which was I was doing, because this is what we were doing at Movie Poop Shoot. When there's like a bunch of mainstay guys that started there, like Ryan Otley had a strip, and we were doing 2 11-by-17 pages like underneath each other. That was a weekly strip. So if you've ever seen that original stuff, it was very oddly formatted. And this is almost like a little bit of like the Scott McCloud Infinite Canvas, but in this very webtoons. It was just like a long strip. So my storytelling was different then. I would probably find a funky format to collect that in, and then maybe just do kind of like a new story with it, along with the Metro strips, which is also some different stuff. It would probably be kind of like a very indie labor of lovey type thing, and then I'd probably have some hip hop elements thrown in, like maybe get a forward by like some famous rapper or something like that, and almost make it feel like an art piece. Like, my time in the, fine art world, like maybe really appreciate like, gallery catalogs and exhibition catalogs. So it would probably have some sort of like historical bend to it. I don't know. That seems like a lot to answer that question, but it wouldn't just be like a floppy. Like I would want to make it feel different. Steve, I don't know if you ever saw this, and maybe Asa still has it. I never really collected the Boogaloo stuff, but I made a DIY dossier of his origin story that came in a file folder with coffee rings on it.
Nice.
And I actually drank a pot of coffee and put the coffee rings on each one of those things. I would probably do some sort of like funky thing like that too. It wouldn't just be a book. It'd have to be like a piece of something. Thank you.
Oh, some thoughts from Tristan. I hope I say your name correctly. Wayner on YouTube suggests find 3 to 4 dudes way better at the craft. Support them 100%. Listen and learn. Sketchbook for study and paint.
Oh, that was answering that other question.
Touching on definitely a good process. I mean, anything that says and draw more is going to be good advice.
Yeah,
but absolutely finding some inspiration, especially if their work really inspires you. Keeps you excited.
That's cool. That's cool that Chad is like kind of into this.
Oh yeah, there's a whole lot going on. There's I feel like I'm interrupting them by burning on the screen.
You're like, how do you do, fellow youth? You're like holding your skateboard, Steve.
Yeah, I love that he's holding 2 skateboards in that scene. That's my favorite part of that whole thing.
Hello, fellow youths. Steve, you don't have narc energy. I wouldn't do that.
Oh, please. I look like I feel like I want to ruin every party.
There's that guy again.
Yeah.
He keeps hanging around the parking lot.
Yeah, he's uptight. That guy.
So all right, I'm gonna get off of this and give Steve a moment. I have a question for you, Steve, because you've been, I jest, I lightly roast you, a tempura, if you will, I lightly bread you about your longevity in comics, but you're a webcomic pioneer, much like a lot of my friends in this business, or like the first to do stuff. Shout out to my man Scott Kurtz if he's still watching. Steve, how do you feel like your work has matured over the years? If you feel like that at all, I'd love to hear how you feel about that question.
I've gotten more confident. That's probably the biggest difference, is that I would never try to draw the story I'm drawing now in the style that I'm drawing. I wouldn't have found it. It took me forever to find this style.
Mm-hmm.
And the maturity part is the part about just stopping caring about about how it's going to be received. And as long as I laugh when I work on it, as long as the pictures I draw make me laugh and I think it's funny, then I kind of don't care about anything else. Because there's all these great cartoonists whose work was just not my cup of tea. I often credit working on I designed a book called The Art of Richard Thompson. I was the book's designer.
Beautiful book.
And Richard Thompson was a genius. And when I first saw Richard's work, I didn't get it. I was too locked into Hal Foster and that kind of cartooning lineage. I didn't get Richard's stuff. And as I got older, I saw it for that it was brilliantly funny. His example often I cite is that his cows don't look anything like cows, but they're the funniest cow you've ever seen.
Right.
And that reset some things in my head. And yeah, so that was a couple of turning points that I didn't have when my career started. So my webcomics, they were daily, 5 days a week, not 7, Mike, but they were 5 days a week, and they were much more cookie cutter. Because just getting my work out there and trying to build an audience at the dawn of the internet. This is like 1998. That was it was so exciting. And also I was younger, so I had more energy, but I didn't have the skills. Now I've got less energy, but I've got skills.
It's like now you have all the money to buy video games, but you have no time to play video games.
It's hopefully you're the most talented you've ever been, and also the oldest you've ever been. So
may you live all the days of your life. Is that how that Tom Swift did?
That's true. I mean, there was a time probably into my mid 30s, early 40s, where I actually did play some video games, and I haven't played video games in any way with any amount of time in probably over 20 years at this point. I just don't. I don't have the time. I mean, I was like, I have the interest. I'll see these things and that looks pretty cool, but then I'm like, I would rather do a drawing than play a video game. You know what I mean? It's like my life is so full with work, and then I think of, okay, well, there's things that I want to do, right? Like there's so many projects that I wish I had time to do. You know, I probably have 20 things easy that I would really like to do. I'll probably never get to do, you know, probably even half of them. So then I look at like, well, if I were to take, okay, I'm going to go downstairs and, you know, pop in some video game and spend 2 hours just zoning out. I don't feel like I would not benefit from that.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people are different. And you know, if that works for you, great. But that doesn't work for me. You know, I can't justify it, even though I see stuff and I think, wow, would be really cool. I think at the end of the day, would I have rather spent, if I spent 90 minutes a day or 2 hours a day or an hour a day in a week, I would end up, if I took that same amount of time, 7 hours, that would be a page.
Hmm.
That would be a page.
Well, you know, and that's what I kind of enjoy about kind of where we are in the world. There are a lot of, you know, people who take, and no, not to what you're saying, Mike. I agree in a couple of ways. It's just time management, but there are a lot of people who use games as a de-stress. Like that's what they do to kind of
Oh, sure, yeah, I get
knock,
it.
you know, knock the pressure of the day off. You know, so they make time for it. You know, it's almost like a wind down. But I get it. You're coded that you would rather be drawing a wind down rather than shooting aliens.
Yeah, I mean, because I've done it, right? I've done that where, you know, I used to play, you know, Grand Theft Auto, and I used to love, you know, blowing up shit and making people do crazy stunts and stuff like that, and it's fun, right? But it's like, I think what it comes down to is like, well, what are you willing to sacrifice, right? If I wanted to have an extra graphic novel, or I wanted to have time on the weekend because I'm doing the 2 strips, but I would wanted to go plein air painting. If I want an afternoon of 3-4 hours out painting, well, I'd have to. I couldn't take 3 or 4 hours of playing a video game. So it's really sort of like time management, right? And for me, I would much rather spend that time working on a drawing or a painting or something, because I would get more out of that later on than I would out of the video game. And like I said, I used to enjoy it, but you know, I think also as you get older, you're willing to realign things, maybe, you know.
Sure. Sometimes it feels like bodybuilders who kind of get really into it and like all they want to do is keep working out. I'm gonna go to the gym. I feel like artists and cartoonists sometimes are like that, where it's like, yeah, I could do something else, but I don't want to get flabby. I want to work on my I want to do a few more reps of drawing and drawing and drawing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you only have so much time in a day, right? That's what it comes down to. And you know, I'm doing 2 strips, so you know, I was up late and up early because I had to turn in the last of this week of the Phantom, and then I had to do, you know, shopping, and I had to pay bills, and I had to get stuff ready for my accountant. Oh shit! Now it's time to do the pod. I ate something, and now it's time to do the podcast, right? I have to do another week of the Judge, dailies and Sunday by Friday. So by the time we're done with this podcast,
Yep.
Right? I'm going to go, well, I'm going to work to 1, so I can probably get a bunch of them laid out. Then I want to go to sleep. I would rather, and what I've learned now, it would be different than what I did when I was even 50. I would rather go to bed at 1 and get up at 7:30, than to stay up at 4, burn until there's just like, the afterburner kicks out. you punch out, right?
Yeah.
Then when you wake up, you're kind of still a little hooked, right?
Right.
So I don't do that. I don't work all-nighters anymore. I can break up my sleep a little bit. I can go get 5 hours sleep, then work. But I won't do that, because the other thing is the older you get, the more you pay for that. I pay for things now at 64 that I wouldn't pay for when I was 50, and I certainly wouldn't pay for when I was 20. Right.
Right.
And I was thinking the other day, like, how crazy my hours were when I was 50, because I was teaching in 2 schools, being a full-time student, and doing the strip.
Right.
And I would be, some days I'd work 18 hours a day. Right. And you just can't keep doing that, because eventually your body is really going to pay you back. So.
Well, we're coming up on 9:23 East Coast time. We got a couple of comments here. Mike, first off, just want to say from Z Manley on YouTube. Hi, Uncle Mike. This is your niece here.
Hi, Zian.
Love from Cali. Then we have another comment from Mimi Simon over on the YouTubes. Your PS2 was last used by me to play Radiata stories.
Probably, yeah. I was thinking, was it last Christmas or the Christmas before? Maybe I could buy a new, but then I realized it's like, if I bought it, if I really got addicted to it, I would actually think that I would be hurting myself for what I want to do, right? Like, there's a lot of things I developed in the last 10 years, like the Skull Kids and things like that, that if I had spent that time playing a video game, that I never would have created those characters.
Right, for sure.
And like I said, I'm not knocking people who want to do that. If that works for you, great. I'm just saying that I know now that won't work. That won't work for me. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I definitely get the feeling that I've got fewer days ahead of me than I do behind me. I want to use them right. Well, let's start with a question from Darren Huddy 7776. Do you gentlemen ever draw using analog tools on paper at drawing boards these days? Or is your process entirely digital?
Well, I'm only doing this digital because I don't have I'd have to spend a lot of time tonight to set up my lights and everything, to go through my cell phone to film this thing. And this is just easier. Right. But I do draw analog all the time. So.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, agreed.
And the best digital tools are the ones that do their best to pretend to be real tools.
Right. And frankly, I prefer, the digital. I mean, the traditional. I get tired of staring at a screen.
Yeah. We got a one from Tristan Rayner here. YouTube. Regarding inking practice, is there a paper best to use for printing pencils for inking practice if my goal is to use a physical brush?
Bristol board.
I use the Strath. Well, Strathmore makes a 300 series. I find the 300 series Strathmore. You can get it in a pad. You get the smooth surface. You can get. I think they make 14 by 17, or they might even make a 10 by 15. And then you can run an individual sheet through your printer.
Printer? Who's got a printer? It's 2026.
I know, right? Nobody has a print. Yeah. So but the printer I have behind me, that's what I would do. I could run a blue line through that. And then you could ink on top of that.
Going back to some of our earlier episodes that kind of cover, like, what is it like to actually run your studio? Because it sounds like you professionally sit on your stomach and draw with your tongue out. Like, there's a lot of other parts of this, like even us talking earlier about subscriptions, right? What is the Adobe Suite subscription now? Like
200. Well, I just paid my my Photoshop.
Yeah.
About $230 for a year.
Yeah.
I just paid it for the next year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my subscription is for all the things I use from Adobe is $54.99 a month.
That's a month.
You don't do for a whole year. You do.
No, because all the different services I use. No, I don't know. I'm not even sure. I'm committed to a year that they force you to do that. But I don't think there's a better deal if I pay it all in advance. Jeff says on the YouTubes that dumped Adobe, started using Affinity. And Jeff asked me, do you do everything in Procreate or do you bring it in the production stuff into Photoshop? I do. I bring it into Photoshop for color flatting, and I do it for lettering, not the word balloons. The word balloons I hand draw in Procreate, but I type all the lettering in Photoshop.
Yeah.
And to that, and I have a studio subscription to Clip because I have I can't remember how it either works by screens or something like that. I know I have a thing where my assistant has a copy of it. I have a copy of it. I also have it for tablets. So I have a thing for my tablet, and that's kind of like my bread and butter. I use Clip Studio Paint. So, like, I get it that everybody's trying to save some coin, but like, I need the shit to work. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So you pay for it.
I mean, there's no way around it at a certain point, because it's like if the client goes, we need stuff in this format, it sucks, but it's just it's like part of the price of doing business,
I was working on a book, and I don't own Microsoft product. I don't have Microsoft Word. I don't need it. I had a paid for Pages one time on Apple, and it does just fine. But I don't have Word, but I needed it, so I subscribed for a month, and then unsubscribed when the project was over. I feel like that's the way to. Like, I like what Rab is saying here. For CS, you can pay monthly or all at once. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just. I recall, especially talking to students about kind of like the cost of things, like the cost of doing business, like Mike says. And they're like, but things cost money. I'm like, this is what you want to do for a living, right? You're going to have to, say you're trying to do something and there's watermarks all up in your file because, you know what I mean? And like, what are you going to do then? There's just parts of this that you gotta, I wouldn't even say biting the bullet. It's just part of doing business.
Yeah. I wish Adobe didn't know that.
Well,
that
you
was,
know, it's like when people talk about creating your characters and stuff. And I've talked about this before on the podcast. You know, one of the things I did when I decided to start self-publishing is I came up with my characters, and then I spent the money to do copyright trademark search, because you know, you might turn out that somebody else also has something that's like that.
Sure.
And because I did that, it cost me, I think at that time, I remember it was like $300 a search. So I knew then, when I did Monster Man or Girl Patrol and Action Planet, when I knew when I did that there was that nobody else had those characters. So so it probably cost me maybe $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I did that, when I copyrighted trademark Monster Man, and Gary Gianni was doing the Monster Man at Dark Horse, I sent them a cease and desist. Nothing against them, nothing against the project, but I trademarked Monster Man, so you can't call your thing Monster Man, right? So
Right.
he changed the name. You know, no hard feeling. And the thing is if you don't do that, then you lose the exclusive right to your character, to the name of your character. But I remember explaining that to people, students, and they were like, "Oh, you got to, you know, you got to get a lawyer, you got to do this, you're paying for this, you're paying for that." You know, I spent several $1,000s to start self-publishing. But if you're saying to yourself, my product is not worth spending $1,000, let's say, then your idea is worth nothing. Because the fact is, because I did that, I was able to protect not only my trademark, but I was able to protect it more than once when a porn company came after one of my products, and I was able to sue them and make some money and protect them from doing from you know, basically stealing my trademark.
Well,
If I didn't do the other part in the beginning, then you don't have any legal protection. So I think you have to be, you know, that's the part I think the young artist thinks, so I'm just going to have my idea, I'm going to do my thing, that's it. I don't have to worry about spending money. I know nobody wants to spend money, but if you don't do it right and you don't spend your money and you don't do things correctly, then you're gonna one day you may have a great hit character, and then suddenly someone shows up the day that they saw the announcement of your new show at Cartoon Network, and they go, "What? Oh no, I own Kung Fu Hillbilly." Then they show up with their hand out and go, "Cease and desist," or "You got to pay me some money."
They say, "That's right. You lose. You get nothing. Good day, sir."
And the thing is that all those big media companies that's all they do. They have lawyers that go on Etsy. They have lawyers that go on eBay. They have people that scour they're probably using AI now, to scour the internet to look if somebody's infringing upon one of their trademark, and will send you a cease and desist in 2 seconds. So,
all right, got it. Yes, I'm sorry, Mike. Finish your thought.
No, that's.
Well, guys, I you know, I say this almost like a matter of fact. Where did the time go? Where did the time go, Steve?
I don't know.
So I would be remiss if I did not say pencils down. Let's see what we got. Mike, that's a nice looking Batman's.
Batsman.
The batsman in.
I'll finish this up and then.
Yeah, and smiley face.
It's crazy. I love it, Mike.
Batman's is in smiley face. I like it, and in ribbon. You know, Batman's isn't ribbon. You know those two.
Yeah. Sometimes I love, after like working on something that's really straight, like the Phantom, I like flipping and doing something that's really cartoony. It's just sort of like stretch your muscles.
That's great.
You know.
And
Enjoy doing that.
And thank you, Mike and Mr. Conley. Is your thing still up?
Oh yeah.
I got it.
Oh, sorry.
Come on, buddy. You got pretty far. Look at that.
I don't hate it. That's all I go for. Try not to hate it.
Yeah, it looks good, man. I love you. I love your.
You got to work through the hate. You got to work through the hate. I do that all the time.
Webcomic. You publish it faster than you can hate it. That's the whole thing about webcomics.
Well, you know what? The thing is that you always get to do another page. Nothing is ever perfect. It's just like as perfect as you can make it, because it's got to go out the door, right? Like today, there was stuff I probably could have redrawn just about everything I did this week. Right? I literally could have redrawn it. I could have adjusted an angle. I could have done some slight different expression on somebody's face. And then but then I think, well, you know, if I had made those changes and I'd done that, in the end, it may have been something that I would have been more proud of or happier with. But would it have actually changed anything with the reader? Would they have noted? Would they have like gotten something different out of it? And a lot of and that's one of the things about doing something like a strip, is that, you know, you could always redraw it, but sometimes maybe that wouldn't really change what, you know, 99% of the people reading would actually get out of it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, this was a really good episode. I think, as our numbers will attest, gentlemen, that we should be doing more of these. And this sounds weird, but I don't want to do too many of them, lest you forget that your three expert cartoonists have things to tell you about, not draw about. We can do both just as well. So thanks. We're going to start wrapping this up. Well, we are wrapping this up. We're going to start getting out of here. We're trying to keep the show to an hour and a half. And I know we kind of get our juices flowing around like the 35-minute mark. And then we're like, trying to fit it all in. Pause. But I appreciate you guys logging in with us every week. I love that our audience is growing. You know, Michael DeFonte always says, please help the rhythm. You know, the rhythm is a dancer. Help the algorithm recognize and acknowledge pencil to pencil by up those thumbs. Why don't you? And also, just to let you know, I will be back tomorrow night with Coffee Break with JN. I'm kind of like a fortnight off because I had bowling with my.
Your fortnight with George Washington wearing your powdered wig out in the woods somewhere, waiting for the British, the Hessian soldiers to show up.
The British are coming. The British are coming.
I need a fortnight. I must finish my strip.
Forsooth and forthwith. And that'll be fun. So yeah, tomorrow 9 p.m. at the same John, the same Bat channel. Come check me out. Watch me drink a cup of coffee and run mine. And when I'm out of said coffee, video over. All right. So guys, thanks so much. I hope you're following all of our work. Thank you for all of you that are picking up our work. That's another great part of this program, is that you get introduced to new stuff that you may not have known about. So thank you guys so much. We don't know what we're doing next week, but you will be the first to know once we know, and that's that.
You guys can also suggest subjects and topics that you guys are interested in, right? Because I mean, that's kind of why we're doing this. We're not doing it just for us. We're really doing it for you. We're doing it for the audience. So if there's a subject or a technique or something that you're really interested in, we would really love to hear back from you specifically, because then, that would be a lot easier for us too, in a way. If people say, "Oh, I want to see, how you draw girls, or how do you draw cars, or
How do you draw girl cars?
car girls?" Yeah, or how do you? You could also. We did this in the past, where people submitted something and we were able to give them a critique.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah, we can always try to come up.
Right. But if you're going to do that, you have to submit it in a way that allows us to easily do it.
Right. All right, guys, that's good. That's good for me. It's good for you. Let's start to get out of here. I have it on good notice that a man with a pompadour and winged hair, not not Paulie Walnuts,
Of Dimension X.
not Dr. Walnuts. What did I say? Quasimodo predicted all of this. That's right. Paulie was right. Dr. Walls was right. He predicted that before we go into that cold night, we got to wash those curvy hands. So let's see those curvy hands. And we'll see you
with digital attachment.
We'll see you tomorrow for coffee break. Have a good night, you guys.